Hi, everyone. My name is Ross John Fortuny. I'm managing editor of GovCIO Media and Research, recording here from the Billington Cyber Summit in DC. Joining me now is Steve Wallace, DISA's Chief Technology Officer and Director of Emerging Technology. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So you're on a panel today, which I'll be in attendance for, about multi-cloud environments. So there's a lot about continuous monitoring. How is DISA addressing the continuous monitoring challenges that come with multi-cloud environments?
Sure. So continuous monitoring is definitely a challenge, whether you're talking about from the software development side of things, and we're looking at DevOps pipelines, all the way through to the infrastructure management and your more traditional infrastructure. So it is definitely something that we are trying to figure out. I don't think it's going to be one solution. There's a lot of work to be done in that space. I'd say we're the furthest along on the software dev side and the pipeline side of things. But then as we're moving more and more infrastructure into a DevOps construct for delivery of capability, we're going to see more of that continuous monitoring. So it's something that we were working very closely with our CISO on and figuring out the best way. You know, we've seen some continuous monitoring solutions struggle and some risk being taken at times. We want to make sure that we balance that risk with the ability to deliver capability.
How do you make that happen, essentially? How do you deliver that capability effectively while these threats change and they evolve?
Yeah, so it really continues to be that, and it's not overly technical in many cases. It's really more about the continued collaboration and continued communication between the folks with the accrediting authority and the folks actually building the systems. It's not trying to build it in a stovepipe and then ultimately deliver something and then hoping for the best security wise. It's really that collaborative conversation the entire way. And yes, the threats constantly shifting. The technologies are always changing. You've seen with the introduction and the sort of the explosive growth of artificial intelligence in the last 2 years, that the threat vector that has brought just in and of itself, not just on the IT side, but also the social engineering side of things, that has changed the game entirely. So it is a constant cat and mouse game between us and the adversary population. So it oftentimes is technical of nature and how we approach the challenges, but a lot of times too, it's that social and even just the collaborative and communication side of things.
Well, I want to take a detour here to talk about that social engineering side. How is that evolving? How is that changing? How is DISA tackling it?
Sure. So from the social engineering side, we're seeing a number of things happening. The barrier to entry with a strong social engineering attack has been lowered dramatically, right? That ability to go out and clone somebody's voice with publicly available either YouTube videos or what have you, publicly available media has dramatically changed the barrier of entry and the tools and all of that sort of thing. So sometimes it's not even, as I mentioned, the most sophisticated of things that you need to do in order to defend against it. Sometimes it's simply about how do you change your processes and procedures for how you do interaction, whether it be telephonically or even a video call with somebody. How do you change your processes and procedures to make sure that you adapt to the risk? Is it as simple as a callback? Is it, what is it that we need to employ? And so we've done a number of things across the board on that side. We're looking constantly. So DISA runs the email gateway for the Department of Defense as things come in. Email continues to be one of the largest attack vectors, whether that be the, just straight distribution of malware or phishing attacks or that sort of thing. Email continues to be the greatest threat vector. A few years ago, we deployed our cloud-based internet isolation capability. We're now well over 3 million users across the Department of Defense. That helps with respect to the clickbait or the phishing sort of attacks. We've seen a dramatic drop in that. We're seeing the provider that we use for that offer new and really interesting techniques to defend against those sorts of things, using artificial intelligence to look at not just the provenance of a domain, but actually the graphics and the page layout and that sort of thing to use AI to do the analysis to see sort of what's changed and what, how the page maybe looked or how things are aligning and the background code and that sort of thing. But as I was talking about the mail domain, that's one of our key focuses with our EEMSG capability to watch for incoming mail. How do we adapt? How are we seeing the adversary change their techniques? Some of the stuff I can't get into here, but we are seeing the change in techniques and the adoption. They are very quick to adopt new technology out there in an adversarial way. And we need to be looking at how we can counter that capability.
I was talking with a former colleague yesterday about cloud versus AI and how they sort of come together. We've been doing cloud for a long time, and AI, depending on who you talk to,
yes,
and certainly not at the scale, again, you've talked about the last few years.
Yes.
How do you integrate those two things, the security necessary for these cloud environments and the AI capabilities within, both defensively and coming in offensively?
It is fascinating to see the growth, right? And I've been lucky enough to be in the field long enough where I watched the growth of cloud and got to be a part of that sort of wave as that came on. And really that was the commoditization of compute as a whole. We went from sticking disks in the machines and as best we would try, to build a machine the same repeatably. It never ended up that way. And cloud really helped us to commoditize that sort of approach. It's helping also to bring the resources though to the AI game that we wouldn't have if we were trying to do all of this on our own. The thousands and tens of thousands of GPUs that are out there actively training models and working through data sets, and the ability to store the data in mass, within the cloud environments is an absolute game changer. So for us, the watching these two come together is really interesting. The AI has so many different aspects to it. Everyone's very excited about generative AI right now, as they should be. But there's also all of the other aspects to AI that have been going on for many decades, but we're finally reaching that crescendo, that wave is finally starting to crest. Where we're starting to reap the benefits of all of that work of many decades. In my opinion, a lot of the work around predictive AI is far more valuable in the end. That is not to discount the value of generative AI, but I think the bang for the buck really starts to come in a lot of the predictive AI, where we can take the massive data sets and be able to look at past trends, look at, predict future trends, that sort of thing, whether that be operationally, whether that be, in any number of ways. The generative AI side, and again, they're in relation to cloud. We're starting to look at, we have a tremendous amount of older IT systems out there that are running languages that haven't been used in decades. And we have a workforce that is retiring, that has that experience, that we're going to lose that knowledge base. Can capabilities like generative AI help us to modernize those code bases, those applications, and those platforms, and move them in the direction of cloud? So, the relationship between cloud and AI is tremendous and huge, and very fascinating to see how it evolves.
And the thing that has really stuck with me is, I don't remember who exactly it was, but an interview I did earlier this year. AI is really good for dangerous or monotonous things. Those are the best use cases, because digging through troves of data will glaze your eyes over. You get a machine to do that, obviously, and doing some kind of mechanical thing on an oil rig is obviously, you don't want to have somebody's life in danger in that sense. But modernizing systems, I'm sure there is a lot of tedium. Is that the kind of thing that AI can use within these cloud integrations?
It is. And you see a lot of folks talking about ending the toil, right? So it's the same kind of idea, is how do I take these tasks that people toil away at for hours and hours and hours, and help to bring them down and help to automate those tasks. And sort of people react in two different ways to that. You will have some people that naturally react to, oh my gosh, the AI is going to replace my job, and this is a really bad thing. And I always try to caution those folks around, well, wait, it's just really an evolution. There are other opportunities. None of us got into this IT game to sit behind a keyboard like Homer Simpson and press the exact same button day after day after day after day. We got in this for the challenge. So how do we continue to evolve ourselves and improve our skill sets and help to get rid of that tedium and actually get after the bigger challenges? This is the opportunity for force multiplication not to run the other direction. So how do we adopt, embrace it? And there will be people that embrace it for negative purposes too. And so how do we counter that? And but at the end of the day, I think it's this hugely powerful thing for us to embrace and run with.
Well, we'll end on this just because it's something that's been on my mind, the Concierge AI tool. How is that progressing? How is that coming? I know it's not really related to the cloud stuff necessarily, but what is the status of that and where's it going?
So our Concierge AI effort, we're getting our interim authority to operate, our IATT right now. And our first out of the gate bot will be what we call the policy and instruction bot. And it'll be internally focused at DISA at first. But the whole idea is how do we make a chat-based experience for the workforce that they can go and ask questions of, whether those are finance-oriented questions, whether those are questions related to policy and instructions throughout the agency. That's going to be our first dipping our toes in it. We have a few efforts that are in that generative AI space or in that chatbot space. The Concierge AI, it is. I'll be very blunt. It's been a challenge. It's been a challenge on multiple fronts. When we first went into it, we learned fairly quickly about some of the supply chain risks associated with where some of these capabilities are delivered or developed, and they're not always developed in friendly places. So we need to be very aware of where some of these things are developed and what the outcome might be, because it caused us to have to retreat and take a different avenue. So that delayed us a little bit. There's also, the side of whenever we deliver capabilities, it's always how do we make for the best user experience? And we've had some challenges around some of that right now. Some of the early prototypes that we tried, the experience wasn't all that great. We were potentially giving wrong answers. We weren't giving, enough of an answer, those sorts of things. And so it's really, tuning ourselves to make sure that we're giving the best user experience overall. So it's progressing. I'm hoping to have something this month within the agency to start testing internally, but we're going to get it right versus just getting it out there and rushing to failure.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I certainly don't want to be putting out something that is filled with the term of art hallucinations. Steve, thanks so much for doing this with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
GovCast, along with HealthCast and Cybercast, is a production of GovCIO Media and Research. To explore our content, visit our website, govciomedia.com. Keep an eye out for new episodes every Tuesday. And if you like what you heard, leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice. Have a topic you want us to discuss? Contact us at newsletter@govcio.com.